descent like this. It's so drifty, I love it. Hello and welcome to another out of spec overlanding video. You join us with two Rivians. We have the Rivian R1S and the R1T, and we're both going to take them on the hill climb challenge at the same time. We've actually held off on running the R1T in our hill climb challenge. We're getting ready for next year's big push on this channel. You'll see a ton of adventures to come, but we have both of the trucks right now. We have our traditional hill climb challenge just behind us here in the mountains of northern Colorado. And yeah, gonna walk you through both trucks, how the drivetrains are laid out, some of the logic, the tuning, the settings we're gonna run to get up the hill. Hopefully in both of them, we'll see. It's a pretty aggressive challenge. I think the S can do better than the T, shorter wheelbase, but only time will tell. So let me take you on a tour of both of the trucks. We'll run the R1T first, and then we'll see how the R1S does in comparison. This is a brand new Rivian R1S. This is a review truck from Rivian, so a huge thanks to them for supporting out of spec overlanding and sending this vehicle out for some fun off-roading adventures here in Colorado. We have the factory 20-inch all-terrain wheel and tire option. There's actually 3 wheels and tires you can spec in this 20-inch configuration. This is what they call the black option. It's a different wheel face than the standard. Doesn't make a difference from a tire perspective. We're running on Pirelli Scorpion all-terrains. It's a triple Snow Peak rated tire as well as a all-terrain tire with foam on the inside. So it's an EV specific compound as well. It's an OE specific tire built for the Rivian by Pirelli. On the R1T, which, just to walk you through a little bit of difference, is about 14 inches longer wheelbase, 12 to 14 inches. We actually have to measure it because I'm not totally sure the stated specs are 100% accurate. Maybe they are. Anyway, you can just see the front wheels are about, you know, the R1T is actually pulled up even in front a little bit, and the rear wheel's definitely behind. So, you know, definitely a longer wheelbase. We also have, unfortunately, the 22-inch wheels on this truck. We are going to get a set of all-terrain wheels and tires for next season. We have some big, crazy adventures planned with this, but to make the test a little bit more even, I threw on a set of all-terrain tires on this truck at least. For this challenge, grip isn't really our main problem. It's drivetrain control strategy, which there's enough grip to get up either way, and mostly ground clearance is what we run into a lot here. So we're running the Nokian Outpost AT tires on here, and huge fan of this tire. We've been running them on our Sprinter. We have one of those 4x4 Sprinter vans. We've done an Alaska series on that in this channel. By the way, the rest of the episodes may or may not be coming. We kind of lost the footage, but that's a topic for another day. But if you take a look over here, 22-inch wheel, the Nokian tires, Nokian recently announced that they're working to, you know, basically spec tire sizes, weighting, and recommendations specific for Rivian. Of course, Nokian's one of our sponsors, so they sent us a set for our truck. We're also going to try and get a set in the 20-inch size so we can show you the difference between stock and the Nokian tire version. Okay, let's talk suspension, and then we're going to run them up the hills. Rivians have pretty crazy suspension when it comes to off-roading, unlike any other vehicle. And we've been through it in the past, and I won't get super nerdy here, but essentially there's an air component. So we have a onboard air compressor that can raise or lower the vehicle's height from, I think, 9.5 to 15 inches of ground clearance at the lowest points. However, we should sit them side by side because R1S seems to sit a little bit higher to me, just off of initial impression. I think this tire size is also a bit taller than what we're getting here on the R1T, so that might be a little bit of part of it. There's also no metal sway bar. So, you know, if you look at Bronco or if you look at Jeep Rubicon, a regular Rubicon, they have the sway bar disconnect function. The Bronco's cool because you can do it when it's loaded up. You can hit sway bar disconnect and it'll flex out. This has a dynamic sway bar, which I actually want to show you really quick. So if you just hang out there, I'm just going to crank the wheel so I can show you what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to inch it forward so I don't, oh, it doesn't want to inch forward because the door's open. There we go. This way I can kind of show you inside the wheel well here. So take a look over here. If you peek the camera in, you'll see 2 braided stainless steel lines on the inside of that tire. And there they are right there on the middle of your screen. Those are the sway bars, which is really cool. It's basically McLaren technology. So instead of having metal sway bars, you have high pressure hydraulic lines that run from compression to rebound and rebound to compression with a pump in the middle that can have infinite roll stiffness adjustability. So through software, depending on your mode, you can have the whole thing corner flat like a sports car. We ripped up the roads on the way up here. The trucks did really well, very controlled, really fast considering the weight. And then when we get out here on the trail, we can actually turn off a lot of that force and flex the whole thing out so that each tire will have contact with the ground. That's the idea, at least. We've done a ton of off-roading in Rivians now, and my biggest complaint has been the 4-motor electric system. They both use the same motors, the same battery pack. It's the quad motor. It's a Bosch sourced motor, 135 kilowatt hour battery pack, gross capacity in both. And well, it hasn't been, I would say, flawless off-road, at least in technical situations, but it has gotten better. So let me explain the situation. Most of the time when you're driving a vehicle off-road, you can have something called a locking differential. That locks wheel speed from the right side to the left side on that particular axle to be the same. So if you have a wheel in the air and you apply throttle, even if one wheel's sticking 5 feet up, you know instantly that the wheel on the ground is going to get the torque that the wheel in the air would have gotten. With a 4-motor system, the truck has to figure out what's going on with the wheels and then choose how much power to send to each. And so if you have the front right wheel in the air, let's just say, and you apply the throttle, the truck's going to start spinning that one, go, oh crap, that one's in the air. Let me apply more torque to the front left wheel to pull me up and over. And that process takes a few milliseconds, and off-road, that is an awkward feeling. Now, when we first reviewed the Rivian R1T, the white review truck on the 20-inch wheels, almost a year ago now, not quite, we really hounded Rivian on this. We said, look, the drivetrain control strategy needs a lot of work. It's fine for sort of high-speed maneuvers, or definitely if you're cruising, but hardcore rock crawling and slippery situations on the edge of a cliff, we're like, this needs some tuning. And since I've owned this truck and we've done a lot of adventures with it, every software update, they seem to improve this drivetrain logic. So I'm really curious now that they've had a year of production, more than a year of production, to hone this system, how well it does here. My guess is it's going to do much better than when the truck first launched, and that is the power of over-the-air updates. This truck has gotten significantly better throughout my ownership period. The R1S, same thing, just shorter wheelbase, should have a little bit better breakover angle. Perhaps we'll do a video where we actually measure breakover, departure, show you what all that looks at. We don't have the R1S that long, and I have to do toe testing with it this afternoon. So the plan is just to run both up the hill and see how they do. Welcome to the base of our hill climb. Here's my truck. We're going to run the R1T first. I've just pulled us a little bit off the trail because there are some dirt bikes that are about to roll up. But let me show you the hill climb challenge first of all. So we try and run the same line, and it's really split into 2 sections of this climb. We're also up at crazy high elevation, so quite rocky, dusty surface. It's really dry out. Everything's pretty easy to slip on, I would say. So I have no question that the Rivians can make it to step 1, which is to get up here. This is like where Volkswagen ID4, Ioniq 5s, just general, SUV, SAV type things. This is like, if they can make it to here, that's sort of out of spec approved. That's pretty good. Need some drivetrain control logic. Then we get the hardcore situation right here, which is boulders, huge flex, underbody protection, things like that. I should also mention my truck is not the off-road spec. I'm out of breath from the elevation. Great. So I have no underbody skid plate, and the R1S does. The R1S is full off-road kitted. Mine is on sport wheels and no underbody protection. But I've laid my truck down on stuff and it hasn't blown up yet, so I'm not sure it's so needed to spend the $2,000 for most people. I would think it's protected either way, but we'll find out throughout our ownership for sure, the way we drive our truck. Basically, just going to drive it straight up these boulders. However far it gets, we'll stop the truck. If it completes it, great. Then we'll run the R1S. Let's go do it. So you can see we're right in that spot where we just shot that little intro. I thought it'd be kind of cool to show you some of the drivetrain stuff I've been talking about. We're going to go reduced stability control, all terrain. We're in highest suspension because I declared an obstacle. High actually should give you a little bit better articulation. So here we are, just came off the parking brake. little left foot brake. And so you can see I'm accelerating and we're just spinning tires. Now, Colton, if you come over to this side here, can you see if that front right wheel is actually spinning? So let's take a look. I'm going to accelerate and not spinning at all. So I'm going to apply more throttle and now I'm completely floored. That's everything it has. But that wheel's not doing anything, right? Hey, Colton, that wheel's not doing anything, right? Nope, yep, so that's the four motor thing. If we had a locking differential, I could say, hey, that was wide open throttle, you know, all-terrain mode with the suspension in highest, and that wheel was just stuck there. So that's why I keep complaining a little bit about the four motor thing. Now you can completely drive around this situation. Oh, the mic just got dropped. Mic drop. And now I lost the little magnetic thing. I'm just going to clip this here for now. Sorry for the noise. Wow, cool bird coming down. So, yeah, let's go run the challenge. I think we're actually going to run it in highest suspension because we have some huge things to clear. And typically what we do is we get the vehicle set up in the most off-roady settings for this, just to give them the best chance we can. So I'm going to go rock crawl. I'm going to go highest suspension. We're going to go ride and stiff. It's really important to go ride and stiff because when you come down off a rock, you don't want the suspension to compress and give you more room. So there you go. It's also really important. We always say tread lightly. Don't be spinning your tires like an idiot like I just did there for too long. That was for demonstration purposes only. We're going to keep auto hold off so we can inch it around. And stability, I do like reduced because I do want some wheel spin actually on this type of surface. So let's see how this thing does going up the hill climb. We're going to use a little bit of camera here. So easy enough to get up to the first section here where, you know, obviously this truck can easily do that. All right, so it can do left foot braking, which is nice. Probably should have done that there. But here we are just clogging our way up here. We also don't air down for this test, and for a particular reason, which is that's the way we can just run manufacturer pressures. So now my line's gonna be pretty important here through these boulders. And what I'm gonna try and do is kind of walk it up here. So here, much better drivetrain control I'm feeling, which is nice. I'm just gonna take a pause. I'm just inching onto the throttle and I can feel the truck's much more sensitive to individual wheel spinning. And yeah, really pleased with this pedal feel. It's not so bouncy when we hit a bump. It's just applying smooth, consistent pressure. So let's left foot brake it a little bit and kind of walk our way up here. Sometimes we need a little bit of line spotting, but we'll see if we have enough clearance for this rock. I can feel a little bit of motor cogging, a little bit of wheel spin, just applying more throttle, a little left foot brake to control the motion. That was a little bit too much left foot brake. Really like it. Can smell a little bit of burning rubber here. And we're climbing up. It's doing a great job. Feel a little motor cogging. Here we go. We're just going to be a little bit gentler than I just was there. Got to get the pedal motion down just right. And here we are coming up like a glove. Rock crawl mode is perfect for our type of scenario. This Rivian would not be able to do that on early software. So a huge props to the Rivian software team for really getting that motor calibration done so much better. Obviously, there's still some work to do, like I showed you at the beginning, but that was smooth, controlled, easy. It's just amazing having electric motor, instant torque, and that's pretty hard on the motors. Low speed, high current, just pulling the thing up. That was pretty impressive. So the R1T just completed the hill climb challenge with ease. I'm really surprised that long wheelbase made it honestly pretty comfortable going up, even with the stiffest suspension setting. These Nokian Outpost tires, really aggressive compared to the factory. These are actually the street 22-inch tires we have in the back of the truck, and these definitely seem well suited. It is always risky running at full tire pressure. I always recommend to run air down, especially if we're going to continue the trail. I would air down probably to about 30 to 32 PSI on the sport wheels. On the 20-inch, on something this aggressive, I might go down into the high 20s, like 27 PSI range, something like that. But part of our testing procedure for this is to run factory air pressures, just because that's what we want to see how the trucks do. Very impressed with the tire performance, really impressed with the drivetrain control. The long wheelbase with the suspension in highest was pretty good. Let's get this thing down the hill now and run the R1S. join me in the R1S now. It's time to complete the challenge, but I thought it'd be kind of interesting to try that same obstacle that we tried with the R1T, that sort of off-camber uphill climb situation. So I'm gonna stop the truck in a similar area and then try to accelerate away in this. The same settings, all-terrain mode, regular off-road, haven't really touched anything. Let's just see how this thing does climbing up. So we'll get it over here. So check that out. Just must be the way that the wheelbase is a bit shorter. I actually felt like it almost was different drivetrain tuning because it was pulsing the motors. I could feel it using the brakes a little bit more. Very interesting. Had stability control and reduced both times. So wow, this did a good job. Let's go run it up the hill climb. And now it's time to run the R1S up the hill climb challenge. If the R1T did it, I expect this to do it, especially on 20s with the much shorter wheelbase. I'm already noticing just driving the vehicle around here, just the shorter wheelbase, it's much more nimble, feels much better suited for this type of environment, but R1T isn't bad. You know, I've also had Hummer EV off-road, and that feels huge. So we're gonna run the same settings we did the R1T in hill climb, which is rock crawl in highest, ride in stiff, because again, we don't want to smash the underbody, brake regen as low as it will go, auto hold off so I can 2-foot brake it, and stability control in reduced settings. So let's run it up the first little bit, which looks honestly like a walk in the park for this thing, and let's see how it goes up the hill. So we'll try and take the same lines that we did with the R1T, at least best that I can. That's always the plan here. So we'll come wide. Great pedal control, great drivetrain control. Just I needed a little bit of throttle to get up over that obstacle, but yeah, I mean it's no problem here. I like the rock crawl setting for my type of off-roading. So let's pause here. We'll get the main camera moved around and then see how it does in the real tight section. All right, so a little 2-foot brake, just walking my way up here, or 2-foot brake, 1-foot throttle, 1-foot brake. Just using that electric motor, I can feel it pulsing to get up on this rock. Feels really good. Hope my wheel placement's not bad. This is always a pretty sketchy section, just how aggressive this can be. So here we go. Doing great. A little bit of, plenty of throttle on tap. Spinning. Oh, getting a little bit of traction issues here actually. Let's just back it down, retake this line. Okay, so just a little bit of reverse-y action here. Okay, gonna go a little bit more left hand down, I think. See how this feels. And just throttle modulation, nice and gentle. This is where a locking diff would be a welcome addition. Don't want to slide off to the left, so let's back it down and reapproach. Weird that this is not doing as well. Perhaps the shorter wheelbase means that the wheels are actually in different ruts. So not much traction on that front axle there. Let's unwind the wheel a bit and take a little bit of a different line here. Let's go a little wider. Yep, let's go through here. Just gentle progress. We don't want to use momentum. That's not part of the test. I really like this rock crawl setting again. I know I've said it a few times, but truck's feeling good. I can give it more throttle even with the wheels spinning. Oh, that's where I wanted a bit of rear power there, car. The front tires were spinning. We went off to the left. So, one more time. We can do it. I know this thing's got it in it. Just need to see wheel placements. There we go. That back left tire's working for us. There we go. Up on the rock now. Definitely a little bit of a spicier machine to wheel up here. but I like it more. It feels a lot more nimble. I think honestly the long wheelbase helped the R1T in this test. Perhaps the Nokian tires also had a little bit better grip, if I'm honest. So wow, props to Nokian on that. But yeah, let's go evaluate the footage and see what happened. So obviously the test isn't apples to apples. We have different wheels and tires on each, and we're doing the best we can to evaluate. My gut feeling says that this was actually a harder challenge for the R1S with the shorter wheelbase because the tires were in ruts. I also felt, and this is just my impression, that the R1S has a little bit different motor calibration and it was using a lot more front axle than our R1T. My impression was the R1T was pushing us up the hill from the back where all the weight was, and this was trying to pull us up the hill with the front tires. And again, part of this test is to not let too much wheel speed happen. On that first attempt, I could have gone hard throttle and wheeled this thing up here. This is supposed to be an inching thing. We want to see that powertrain calibration. And for the front wheels to start to slide and spin off that edge without it juicing the rear tires hard enough, to me said, okay, maybe we need a little bit more longitudinal throttle control or powertrain calibration for this type of off-roading. But I thought, the R1S, I think, is just the better size. I'd love to go do some wheeling and trails. And of course, we'll have friends getting R1Ss soon. We have ours on order, but it's going to be a while till we get it. But we're going to be doing a lot of off-roading and adventures in these things. I think still my gut feeling says this size, this shorter wheelbase, while maybe it's not the long XL R1S that we want for families, it's certainly better suited for off-road, just maneuvering around corners in our tight Colorado trails. This is the package I would choose over the R1T for this type of stuff, even though it did struggle a little bit more in our hill climb challenge. But both completed it, which is a huge, huge positive there. This is not an easy task to do this. This is rated hard on a trail rating scale. We've seen so many people in Wrangler Rubicons get here and go, nope, taking the turnaround trail, there's a little bypass trail to get out. So overall, just thrilled with both of the Rivian's performance, especially my truck on the 22s. That was really good. So thanks for watching another out of spec overlanding video. Let me know your thoughts. Obviously, I'm not a pro off-road driver. I, probably didn't take the exact line both ways. Curious to how you thought both vehicles handled. Obviously, if this was aired down, it would have performed totally differently. I already explained we don't air them down for the testing procedure. But there you go, Rivian R1S, the ultimate electric off-roader at the moment. Not based off of this test, purely a subjective reading. Colton, would you agree? Yeah. Colton agrees. It's just like, even just getting it up here was like, oh, wow, this thing's so much more nimble. And that's great on a trail to have a small vehicle. See you on another one soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. So one thing I want to try is to walk it down this step. Now this requires a really short breakover, really good approach, and really good departure because it's such a big dip. Now the R1Ts scrape on this. I know that because I've done it multiple times. I have the suspension in highest right now. And what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna get us a little bit more straight on lined up, and then we're gonna walk our way down this thing. And Colton, you're gonna have to spot us and let us know if we're touching anything with the front bumper, because I don't wanna damage Rivian's trick.
Touching on the bottom, I believe. The front bumper, you got a foot of clearance.
Okay, but now we're clear of it.
About to go over.
Bye-bye. You're down.
So great departure. So really good approach, really good departure, because that's tough. A lot of times we bang exhaust pipes on that one. And yeah, breakover was good. Honestly, yeah, I had suspension in stiff mode, so maybe if I just went a bit slower, we wouldn't have hit. But yeah, no issues at all. I've done worse in my truck, and it doesn't have underbody protection.
pretty incredible.
So much tighter turning radius than R1T. Okay, well, I've just been having a little bit of fun up here with this thing, and it is, yeah, so much tighter turning radius than the R1T. That is impressive. I'm actually going to walk it down this little thing again because I thought that was pretty cool. Should we rally it a little bit to see how it does? Big power, big skids, proper way of driving. Loves to just be absolutely sent like this. So drifty, I love it.
Wow.
Nothing to see here. That was awesome.